Beautiful folks, what is up and how are you doing? This is your favorite struggling R&B producer, Valentine the Plug, straight from the Danger Room, and I am following up on my promise. A week ago, I dropped a video in which I demoed 5 chord progressions in the minor key for you to use in whatever scale you want. This week, I'm dropping a video giving you up to 7 chord progressions in the major scale for you to use in whatever key you want. So let's get right into it. Alright, first things first, beautiful people. All of these chord progressions were conceived using Noir, Pure, of course, a library in Kontakt, my go-to piano. They were processed using Sketch Cassette 2 and Cymatics Origin for some warmth, amps and down sampling. They're sidechained to a reverb bus which has little plate, shaper box, and Sketch Cassette on it. Cool thing, this is actually not a reverb video, but if you really want to customize your reverb, just add some effects onto it like shaper box and Sketch Cassette, EQs and chords, so you can get some really unique reverb effects. This right here is a playlist, 7 chord progressions light up and ready to go, and this is my backing track which I'm going to demo to you right now. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of this video, I just want to emphasize that it definitely helps if you have a little bit more intermediate knowledge at your disposal in order to follow along properly. But at the very least, what you need to know is what defines the major and the minor scales. Of course, you need to know about scales degrees, how they work, especially in the minor scale, since we'll be discussing that today, and some intermediate knowledge of how to construct advanced chords like dominant 7 chords, augmented 7 chords, flat 5 chords, and 7 sus4 chords definitely helps. So when making R&B, there's this one chord progression that fucking everybody will tell you to get familiar with good reason, and that is the 2-5-1 chord progression, and that's exactly what we got here. So I'm going to invert this up because this is actually a D sharp minor 7 chord, our second degree in its first inversion. So that means that we basically take the top note, we inverted it down, our second degree right here. We've got a G sharp dominant 7 chord, which is our 5th degree, and we've got this C sharp major 7 chord, which is our 1st degree. 2, 5, 1. But we're ending our phrase with an inverted A sharp minor 7 chord, which is our 6th degree in the scale. So our progression right now goes 2, 5, 1, 6. Here you can see I am also opting for a chord on our 6th degree, but instead of a major 7 chord, minor 7 chord, I'm actually opting for a 7 sus4 chord, which is easily constructed by taking your A sharp minor 7, we highlight the 3rd, we raise it up 1 semitone, 2 semitone, boom. That's a sus4 chord, we leave the 7 in place, and now we have an A sharp 7 sus4 chord. I always struggle with that name. And the phrase ends with a little bit of tension on a C sharp dominant 7 chord, meaning that essentially we took our C sharp minor 7 chord, we took that 7th, we flattened it, and now it's a dominant 7 chord. Alright, beautiful folks, gear up because this one is going to be a bumpy ride and I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. So we're starting off with a chord on our 6th degree, an A sharp minor ninth chord right here, right there. Beautiful, sounds rich. We're landing on a D sharp 7/4 chord, which, as you know, is our second degree. Now right here you can see we have our third degree, which is an F minor 7 chord with the fifth in the bass. However, to get there, we're actually passing through a chord on our seventh degree, which is a C minor 7 chord. But wait a minute. In the major scale, the 7th degree is always a diminished chord. So what did I do? I simply took both my 5th and my 7th, I pitched them up, and now I have a beautiful minor 7 chord. And that's the liberty you have. And this phrase ends itself with this C sharp major 7 chord. However, you can see that something's different. Usually a C sharp major 7 chord has the 5th right here. However, I decided to flatten it, essentially making it a C sharp major 7 with a flat 5. And flattening the 5th is a very common practice in jazz, R&B, and blues because it does get you a lot of rich tension and dissonance that really captures the ear. Alright, beautiful folks, this one is a very cool chord progression. So we're starting off on our 4th degree, which is an F sharp major 9th chord, and it transitions into our 1st degree, which is of course our C sharp major 7th chord. Now we're going into our 6th degree, which is an A sharp minor 7 chord, and we're landing on our 3rd degree, which is our F minor 7 chord. Now if I just de-invert this, you can actually see that we've got this block of notes right here that's practically just repeating itself. It's almost like it's in unison. So the 4th degree, the 1st degree, and the 6th degree share a lot of notes. They have a lot of notes in common, and that really gives a feeling of familiarity. This is a chord progression for the dreamers, whose chord progressions basically sound like somebody's constantly asking a question and nobody's answering it. So we're starting off on our 6th degree. We have our A sharp minor 7 chord right here, and we're going into an A sharp minor 7 chord. So we're basically playing it in unison, but we're just ditching that 9th. So in order to get right here, this is a variation of the 7th chord, which I basically explained in the previous chord progression. Like I said, the rules of the scale dictate that I'm supposed to turn this into a diminished chord. And if I want to add a 7 on top, I basically get an inverted G sharp dominant 7, right? I decided to say, fuck that, raise this one, raise that one as well, and it gives me a nice C minor 7 chord. But in order to get there from the 6th degree, I'm passing through a C augmented 7 chord. And the cool thing is actually, if I just raise or flatten these two, I get my diminished chord again. So practically I just said, you know what, raise this one as well, and I got my augmented chord. If I wanted to, I could have made it into an augmented 7 chord by adding this little A sharp on top. I simply didn't. So 6th degree, 6th degree, variation of the 7th degree, another variation of the 7th degree, you know, that really sticks the landing after the tension of that augmented chord, and we're landing, let me just remove this one, on an inverted D sharp dominant 7 chord, which is our 2nd degree. So it's kind of a wonky chord progression, but it really does work, and I'm gonna show y'all why. Alright, beautiful folks, from the 6th to the 4th to the 2nd to the third. We're starting off with an A sharp minor ninth chord, and we're heading towards this F sharp major ninth chord with a double third. We're transitioning towards this D sharp minor ninth chord, and we're landing on this F minor ninth chord as well, which I'm using these two notes more as passing notes. Right here you can see that I'm also landing on the F minor ninth, but I decide to get a more tension filled transition by turning that one into an F augmented 7 chord. So basically what I did, I took this third, I raised it, I took this fifth, I raised it, and I left the 7 for what it was, and that gets me this dope chord progression. I personally feel that of all the chord progression, this one has the most jazzy and bluesy influences. Let me explain to you all why. We're starting off on our 4th degree with an F sharp major 7 chord, and we're transitioning to our 2nd degree with a D sharp 7 sus 4 chord. We're heading off to our 3rd degree, which I turned into an F augmented 7th chord, and we're landing on an inverted F minor 7 chord. So it goes 4th degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, and another variation of the 3rd degree, but basically the basic 3rd degree without, you know, all the funny business, basically. And you can actually see, and I do this a lot, I write it in 2 phrases, and using passing chords in the 2nd phrases. I do that a lot because it does add a nice bit of variation. So here you can see I'm utilizing that F minor 7 again, but I'm actually opting for an F diminished 7 in the 2nd phrase. Alright, so last but not least, beautiful folks, actually this one is particularly my favorite. This is the one that I'm probably going to be turning into a beat because I really like the feel of this particular chord progression. So we're starting off 3rd degree, F minor 7 chord with a doubled root note. We're transitioning onto our 7th degree, of course, which you can see right here, but we're getting to that one. 7th degree with the notes raised and sweetened to taste. It's a C minor 7 chord because I don't particularly care about the diminished chord that I'm supposed to adhere to. I'm transitioning towards this C sharp major 6 chord. However, depending on how you want to interpret it, if you want to invert this down, it essentially turns into an A sharp minor 9th chord. So take your pick, honestly. So one technique that you see me utilize a lot is that I'm playing 2 chords on the same degree. However, the chords are different, and sometimes it's a tension filled chord leading into another tension filled chord. Sometimes it's a very harmonious chord leading into a little bit more dissonance. It's really what I like to do, and unison is just a good technique to be utilizing. So from this C sharp major 6th chord, I'm transitioning into the C sharp major 7 flat 5 chord, you know, just to get that tension to throw the listener off, and the entire phrase ends again with a C augmented 7 chord. Alright, beautiful folks, took us a while going through 7 chord progressions, but I do hope that at least one of them was useful for you. I tried to put the chord symbols in the video description and in the top comment, of course, so you can just take those, drop them into FL Studio. Unfortunately, there's no MIDI link, but I'll make sure that when I do another one of these videos, and I possibly will, that there's a MIDI link available for y'all. Take these chord progressions because nobody really owes them. I certainly don't owe them. Take them, dissect them, further your understanding and your enjoyment of making R&B. Please do, because I would love to have helped a new generation of R&B producers. You know, that's kind of, I would love to have that honor. So y'all enjoy these chord progressions. Drop your feedback in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, of course, and I'm gonna peep y'all in the next video. Peace.